Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca Roossien, and today I will be presenting on Michelangelo. This presentation is for Professor Mignotti's 2022 Western Civilization History 101 W02X class. Alright, so these are some of the topics I will be covering about Michelangelo. The first thing I will be discussing is his background, which will include his birthplace, when he was born, who he grew up with, family situations, and what began his interest in art. Next, I will be talking about what inspired Michelangelo to become an artist, how he started his career, the schools he went to, the training he had to go through, and who he worked alongside. This would be everything leading up to his career. Next, I will be talking about religion. I will cover what he believes in and the meaning of his name and how it connects to his faith, changes in religion, and what church he attended. Then I will be talking about his artwork, his different paintings, sculptures, and statues, what they meant, and when they were made. And lastly, I will be covering the impacts Michelangelo had on the Renaissance and people of his faith. Let's get started on the first topic, which is the background of Michelangelo. Michelangelo di Lodovico Buonarroti was born on March 6, 1475, and died on February 18, 1564, at the age of 89. He was the second of 5 sons. He grew up in a small town called Caprese Michelangelo on the Pennine Ridge in the Tuscan Valley in Italy. The town was originally known as Caprese. It had been renamed by royal decree as Caprese Michelangelo to celebrate and acknowledge his birthplace. And in this map right here is all the areas where he traveled, did school, and did his artwork. He grew up in a middle-class family in Florence, Italy. His parents were Leonardo di Buonarroti and Francesca di Mignotta di Siena. His father owned a marble quarry, which is a place where stone is extracted, cut, and distributed for many different purposes. In this time, it was more for artwork, statues, and sculptures. The knowledge Michelangelo had of his father's marble quarry would later benefit his sculptings and other work. In 1481, Michelangelo was only 6 years old when his mother died of a chronic illness, which forced his father to leave Michelangelo in the hands of his nanny and her husband. He lived with them for the next 7 years of his life. When Michelangelo was younger, he was less interested in his schoolwork and spent most of his free time watching the painters at the Sistine Chapel, and he would draw what they were painting. After this, he started to discover his love for art. Next, we have the inspiration of the artist. When Michelangelo turned 13 years old, his father had realized that Michelangelo wasn't catching on to the work in his marble quarry and wasn't as interested in it as he thought he might be. So he sent Michelangelo to the studio of Domenico Ghirlandaio. After 1 year of studying at Ghirlandaio workshop, Michelangelo quickly became one of the best artists in the studio, along with one other student, Francesco Granacci. This led to him being chosen to attend the Medici family's Humanist Academy. He grew his love for art going to the school. He studied classical sculpting here with Bertoldo di Giovanni, who was a famous sculptor and medalist. Michelangelo looked up to artists like Bertoldo. They inspired him. He was training under Giovanni to stretch his talents in architecture, painting, sculpting, and even writing poetry. Michelangelo had become a perfectionist with his work and often left many of his projects unfinished that weren't good for him. Projects like the Buonarroti. This definitely helped him to become the famous artist he was. Okay, now I will be talking about the beginning of Michelangelo's career. Michelangelo had to go through a series of training to become the professional artist he was. The academy he was chosen to go to, which was Florence's Humanist Academy, would further his skills as a Renaissance artist, teaching him how to show humanism, secularism, and individualism, which are all three aspects of becoming a Renaissance artist, which I will talk about in later slides. Michelangelo eventually had to leave where he had been living and leave his school due to the Florentine city being consumed in political turmoil and forcing the Medici family to move out. Michelangelo moved to Bologna. Bologna provided Michelangelo with many opportunities. While he was there, he had received a commission to finish the carving of the tomb of Saint Dominic, which is right in this image here. It's a very beautiful tomb. The commission led to many other sculptures and carvings, such as a statue of Saint Patronus and a kneeling angel holding a candlestick, and Saint Proculus. These were some of his first pieces. Next, I'll be talking about his religion. Michelangelo was a devout Catholic, which meant he was very dedicated to Catholicism, and he took it very seriously. The definition of the Catholic Church is a visible society of baptized Christians professing the same faith under the authority of the invisible head, which would be God or Christ, and the authority of the visible head, which is the Pope and the bishops in communion with him. Michelangelo attended the Sistine Chapel in the Vatican Palace. This is the Sistine Chapel right here in this image. He actually painted the ceiling of this church. This is Italy's most renowned church. It has stood since 1794 and is still standing today. Later in Michelangelo's life, he had began to believe in spiritualism. Spiritualism is a system of belief or religious practice based on the communication with God, and the path to God can be found not exclusively for the church, but through direct communication with God. Michelangelo was a devout Catholic, but when he developed his belief in spiritualism, he was condemned by the Pope Paul IV. When Michelangelo's parents named him, they connected his name with their beliefs. His name is an Italian name meaning Michael Angel. His name is a combination of Michael, meaning he who resembles God, and the Greek name Angelo, which is messenger. This is the artwork portion of the presentation. The Torment of Saint Anthony, or the Temptation of Saint Anthony, was made in 1487. This painting was first known as a painting of Michelangelo. He would have been 12 years old when he made this painting. This seems pretty young, but back in the 1400s, the life expectancy was only about 48 years old. This painting was almost the exact copy of a carving made by Martin Schongar. The story in this painting is showing Saint Anthony having a vision of being suspended in the air and then being attacked by demons because he was strong enough to not be tempted by them. Alright, and then this is the creation of Adam, which you saw on the very first slide of this presentation. The creation of Adam was painted by Michelangelo in 1508 through 1512. This painting depicts the New Testament of Genesis when God breathes life into Adam and Eve, and later creates Eve with Adam. This is one of Michelangelo's more famous paintings. This story remains strong to Italy, and he wanted to capture that moment. The creation of Adam was painted on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, where Michelangelo attended church. Michelangelo had a strong relationship with the Lord and used his faith through his work to share it with others. Like this image right here. Alright, and then this is the angel statue. Michelangelo sculpted this in 1494 through 1495. It was made out of marble. Michelangelo made this sculpture from inspiration from his poem that said, "With love and ecstasy, a human soul could reunite with God," meaning when we die, our soul can be with God. This statue was an image of a strong youth with wings like an eagle. Alright, next is the deposition. Michelangelo made the deposition in 1550. This piece of work was not commissioned for Michelangelo like many of his other pieces, but rumors say that some believe that he was making this tomb for himself, but then he sold it unfinished. The statue shows Jesus being taken down from the cross by priest Nicodemus and the Virgin Mary, and also Mary Magdalene. The deposition was also known as the Florentine Pieta because the Virgin Mary was shown in it. Pieta is the term for artwork that depicts the Virgin Mary. Michelangelo sculpted a Roman Pieta. This took him 5 years to finish his part of the sculpture, from 1550 to 1555. Many people believe that Nicodemus was carved as a self-portrait of Michelangelo. This resembles his strong faith to the Lord. Alright, now we're going to discuss the impacts Michelangelo had. Michelangelo was skilled in many areas of art, such as sculpting, painting, architecture, and even poetry. He was a Renaissance idol. A Renaissance idol is someone who shows the three main values of the Renaissance. These main values are individualism, humanism, and secularism. They were all of his pieces were raw, emotional, and had lasting impacts on many people who saw them in the Renaissance. Throughout Michelangelo's career, he was strong in his faith. He shared beliefs with people through all of his work. All of his paintings had backgrounds of faith and just like religious scenes that show real pain, joy, and all kinds of emotion. He was a very talented artist in this way. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my presentation. I had a really fun time making this and learning about Michelangelo. I hope you enjoyed this presentation and learned as much about Michelangelo as I did.